Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. John Deere Classic DraftKings picks and preview the last week to get into those satellites to get some British Open Millionaire Maker tickets. Plus, I'll be giving away a whole bunch on my show on Friday, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. That's the live chat. Then the Cut Sweat show. Won't be giving away, well, we'll be giving away 20 DK bucks for that show, but you can't use that for the Open Championship just because that'll come along the next week. But there's plenty of ways to get yourself into the Millionaire Maker. Another way to do that, to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks for this week, smash the like button to the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me your favorite play above $9,000 and your favorite play below $7,000, because it seems like it's going to be one of those weeks with people building stars in Scrubs roster, wanting to get access to all the young guns above $10,000 this week. The other way to do it is go to iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, wherever the audio podcast, subscribe to it, download it, listen. I don't care if you listen to it or not. I mean, if you're listening to this now, obviously you have listened to it, so I don't need to tell you to do that, but subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars, DraftKings handle. Something nice about the show, the easiest of all the draws to win. So few people actually do it, and I usually pick like 2 a week from the iTunes, because those iTunes reviews are the currency that I deal in. So it means a lot to me if you can go and give me an iTunes review, 5 stars, DK handle, something nice about the show. All right? The Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Open. The link is in the description of the podcast. If you're watching on Facebook, it's in the description of the video. If you're watching on YouTube, we can't post the link on YouTube. So the link to my Facebook page is in the comment section. Just click on that. Boom. Find it there. It filled super quickly last week, so you might want to get in and reserve your spot or just go fill out a dummy team right away to make sure that you get into the best contest on DraftKings. Joining me from DK Live to break this all down, he is Geoff Ulrich. Geoff, I just want to start with this. Past 24 rounds, my custom stat model. Do you know who the top 5 guys are?
Just recent form, right? We're talking about?
And the key stats that I've looked at. We'll talk a bit more of it. Just the results are shocking.
Okay, I'll throw. Okay. I mean, Hovland?
He's number 4. That is correct.
Okay. Now you said shocking, so I got to throw out some shocking names here. I feel like
one of them is your guy, who every time you come on the show you hype him and he sucks, and then every other week that you're not on the show he's great and no one hypes him.
Who? Jagger?
Tringali.
Oh, Tringali. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that 1 week I really hyped him up and he freaking shot 77. Yeah, no, Tringali's playing really well lately, tee to green wise, so that doesn't shock me. I assume Morikawa's in the top 5 too, right?
He's not. He's inside the top 10. It's Tringali, Malnati, Stanley, Hovland, Streelman. That is your top 5 in my custom stats. I did include a little bit of putting in there, but approach, ball striking, par 5s, and proximity from 125 to 175 yards, along with birdies or better gained. That is kind of indicative of how crappy this field is.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend maybe like half the time talking about tractors or something than half these guys. That'd be okay. But no, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, at least we have the young players at the top, right, who are all coming in, and it's kind of like guessing who's going to get their first win. Now, we saw Wolf obviously do that dramatic thing last week. But yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'm pumped for this week is just that I know the Open Championship is coming next week, and we can kind of see who's playing well and then, lead us into that. It's kind of a fun little event, but it's, the field kind of drags it down a little bit this year.
It seems like it's significantly worse this year than it's been in any other year, at least since I've been covering golf since like 2011. Like, always the Scottish Open is going to have a far more jam-packed, star-studded field. And it does again this time around with Rory and Stenson and Fowler and JT and Kuchar all playing overseas. But, normally we get like 1 or 2 decent names. Kyle Stanley is the highest ranked player in this field. He's 56th in the world.
Yeah, it is a little strange. I mean, to see like nobody who's qualified for the Open outside of like maybe ZJ, who's a past champion there, come and play this as their tune-up event, because they do get the free ride over. Generally, like 10 to 20 players do it. And like, last year, you saw a few players do it. Obviously, it had a few bigger names, but Bryson's come here. Spieth has made it like a regular stop. So to see none of those guys do it's a little bit weird. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just because the majors are more packed together and players just wanted the extra rest. I guess that's why. But yeah, definitely, I agree. Like the worst field in the last 5 or 6 years I've seen at this one too.
The current field for the British Open is 160 players according to their website. That doesn't seem right.
that really doesn't seem right, because like the regular field event is like 156 players. So
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they just, because of all the past champions or something. But that does seem weird.
I guess so. I can't ever remember an event that has 160. I'm looking at the open.com and that's what it says. So that's kind of strange. Jason Kokrak has withdrawn from this tournament, and I actually kind of liked him to, we let's start here then. Let's go to the above 10K guys. You got Hovland, Morikawa, Wolf 1, 2, 3 as the highest priced players on TK this week. Then it's Neiman at 10-2. Then it's Streelman. Old man Streelman comes in at an even $10,000. There's been a lot of talk like this is a spot for a breakthrough win. We saw it for Bryson. We saw it for Jordan Spieth, and a cavalcade of other guys. 45% of the winners of this event have actually been first-time winners, and everyone just assumes one of these four guys is going to win. Do you think there's any merit this week just to say, you know what? I don't know which one of these guys is going to be the highest owned. I assume Wolf will be the lowest owned just because he's coming off a win, and I don't know how I feel about that. He might be the best play of this bunch. But instead of targeting like the super young up-and-comer as a first-time winner, that you'd be better off targeting, let's say, the Joel Damons or Harold Varners of the world, who are also searching for their first win, but everyone's just not talking about them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I agree pretty much 100%. I mean, there's a couple things that you have to factor in with some of these young players. First of all, most of them, I think all four of them are playing their fourth week in a row. And I know they're young, and everyone's, it doesn't matter, Jeff. Like they're young, they're 20, whatever. But it does kind of matter. I mean, 4 weeks in a row is a lot of golf, especially when you're traveling venues. So I think that is a factor, and I think a couple of them, it's probably going to show this week in their play. Another thing that you can make an argument against, I mean, this has been a track where guys have generally played a couple of times before they've done really well at it. Now, there's been exceptions to that rule too, and I wouldn't really use that as a rule to cross players off this week. I'm just throwing that out there as something that might work against them. So I agree. I think that the number of veteran players we see at this event just pop up seemingly out of nowhere with like no form every season. I think there's a lot of merit to just crossing at least three of those guys off your list and going with lower owned plays. So, obviously all four of these players are probably well deserving of their salaries this week because talent wise, they're the best players in the field, but don't be shocked if, none of them end up on like the winning team or maybe one of them do.
The two I'm looking at from this range, one is Morikawa. I think he's actually my favorite of the four.
Yeah.
I actually think he's the safest of the four as well, although Hovland's just been a beast so far, and obviously Wolf is one, Neiman's been fantastic. But I like Morikawa. Gained over 10 strokes on approach last week and just barely gained putting. You turn that around just a little bit, all of a sudden, you gain like 3 strokes putting, and you're lapping the field at this event. And the other one's Streelman. Streelman lost 6 strokes putting last week, and like his approach was off the charts good. This is a wedge. Okay, off the tee doesn't matter, around the green doesn't matter. Can you hit a wedge? Can you kind of score on par fives? And can you make 10-foot putts all week? Like that's what we're looking at here. So I'll go with Morikawa and Streelman as my two guys from above $10,000. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, Hovland is a little bit interesting because I feel like just he was left out last week, and you can make the argument that, he's going to try and make a run. But I think I pretty much agree on Morikawa. I mean, stat-wise, he was off the charts on approach for, all 4 rounds. He was really good in that number. And his putting did pick up a little bit. I mean, he made some clutch putts down the stretch, which I feel like could just bleed into this week from a confidence perspective. Neiman has been consistent. I just don't know if he can win a putting contest. It just scares me a little bit when you have to make basically all your 10-footers to get to 20 under, 22 under this week. And I just don't know if Neiman has that in him right now. I just don't feel like this is like the greatest venue for him. So I think I agree on Streelman. I think Streelman makes for a really interesting play this week because I think he's probably almost definitely going to be the lowest owned of these 4 or these 5 names above 10K. So, either stacking him with one of the other 4 players up above him, or just starting with Streelman and taking another lower owned player underneath him and fading those top 4. I think it's a pretty viable strategy and probably one I'd look to employ in GPPs this week.
Yeah, with Streelman, at least if you start with him, you do get a bit of savings off the very. It's not a ton, obviously. There's no one above $11,000, so it's not like you're saving all your salary cap by taking Streelman. But I agree with you. I think he'll be the lowest owned of the 5, and I think he rates out just as well as they do. He's number 1 in approach over the past 36 rounds. We know he can go win a birdie fest, and we know when he gets hot. I mean, he could just putt himself out of tournaments. We've seen that as well. But when he gets hot, he can really get the putter rolling. 9K range. Here's the problem. I don't like any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I like Wyndham Clark at 9,000. I think he's a strong putter.
No, he's a really strong putter, but like after watching him at the 3M, like he's not good.
I'd say this, he had trouble on the web.com. I don't know if he's not good, but he had trouble on the web.com closing out events. Like he was really bad on Sundays at the web.com. So he actually played okay for parts of it there. I think this event is more suited to Wyndham Clark than some of those other guys because he can go out and sink a ton of putts and make a bunch of eagles on these shorter par fives. So I don't mind him. Sam Burns kind of fits in that mold too, where they're just both strong putters, and I think this event might lean towards them. So I don't mind either of those guys in the low 9K range. I do think they'll be popular, and I'm more tempted to just take a chance on one of these veteran players. God, Ryan Moore is just he's just putted so badly. I want to get behind Ryan Moore and his solid approaches, but I just don't think I can. I'm kind of with you. I don't like any of these 9K guys. I might just play Sanjay M again because he's kind of been a birdie machine, and even if he can't get himself into contention, I feel like he's going to be good enough for like a top 20 in this field. So Sanjay and maybe one of the two guys, Burns or Clark, there down at the bottom for me.
Yeah, I think I would probably rather lean veteran here. Like I make the choice between like Glover, ZJ. I don't know if this really sets up for Howell as well, but like Harman starting to play a little bit better coming off a good week. He's won here before. Ryan Moore has won here before. I have no real interest in Berger. Yeah, like it feels like a dead zone, but the problem now becomes, does that mean I take two guys above $10,000 and then like fill out the rest of my squad? Or does this happen to me like it did a few weeks ago? And it wasn't a terrible idea, but I ended up leaving like 2,000 on the table on a lot of these teams because it's just, I see no real difference, honestly, between some of these 9K guys and guys in like the mid sevens.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're either going to have to talk yourself into these 9K players, which we basically have been like trying to do here for the past couple minutes, or you just leave like $1,000 on the table. And I don't think that's a bad strategy this week at all. I think a lot of people talk about doing it when we get to these type of events and then nobody actually does it, to be honest. But I think it's, looking at it, I agree. I think it's a viable strategy this week. I think Streelman is interesting. If I was going to talk myself into players in this range, like I said, I think Sanjay is fine. I think he's actually shown that he's a pretty strong putter at times this year. And I agree with Harman. I mean, Harman has he gained positive strokes in all categories last week. When he's on, he can definitely win a putt fest. Obviously, he won this event before. So I don't have a problem with Harman. I wonder how popular he'll be. Maybe just play Zach Johnson and just take like the top 5 that he seems to get here every third year. So
yeah, that seems way too easy though. We can't just plug in Zach Johnson and expect our top 5. Come on now. And it's not like he's playing good at all. Like this is playing horrible. Like this is the worst year Zach Johnson's had in like 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why that's why we're sitting here saying we don't really want to play Zach Johnson, right? Because he is coming in horrible form. So, and now he's even though he's got this great course history, there's all these better young players than Zach Johnson here this year. So. I don't want to play Zach Johnson, but it might be a strategy to pair him with another 9K guy who no one else wants to play. And when he does finish in the top 10, you're going to have like 5-10% own Zach Johnson maybe. If you're lucky. I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen though. I think people are going to see the John Deere Classic equals the Zach Johnson Classic, and you have a guy who's won here twice, finishes inside the top 5 every year. It took a while for people to like stop playing Luke Donald at the Heritage, and it took like 2 bad years in a row. It's not like Zach Johnson's
still play Luke Donald at the Heritage,
but it's not like Zach Johnson's going out to the TPC Deer Run and putting up bad rounds. He has 41 consecutive rounds at par or better at this course.
Yeah, so maybe just eat the chalk and play Zach Johnson. I mean, for me, look, if I'm taking a chance on one of these players, I'm definitely not playing Berger for sure. I agree with you there. I think as much as I'd like to play Ryan Moore, I'm not. I think it's Harman for me. Glover is kind of interesting, although I just, again, like asking Lucas Glover to win like a putting event is just asking for trouble, I feel like. But I like Sanjay, and I think Harman, I'd play Harman over Zach Johnson. Hopefully get a little bit lower ownership, but we'll have to see, how that works out once we get to Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, Glover gained over 5 strokes putting in the final round at the 3M when he made his surge up the leaderboard. But he is coming off a very nice round. He's gained on approach in 4 of his past 5, too. I think for me, it comes down to Harman, like you mentioned. And just by the stats, like everything even including putting in this, Ryan Moore still pops out inside the top 10 in terms of overall rank over the past 36 rounds. So that's going to be tough for me to get away from. Although I should be able to get away from it because I play Ryan Moore like every week and he fucking sucks.
Yeah. It's really just his putting. Like he's just forgotten how to putt. I mean, there's a couple of guys that's happened to this year, quite frankly. We'll talk about a couple more when we get down there, but everything else, his game looks fine. Like I've wanted to play him the last couple of weeks. He looked like a good bet in Detroit, and yeah, couldn't get it done. So definitely like taking your life in your own hands, because if he can't putt this week, he definitely ain't making the cut.
Yeah, and anytime we talk about Wedge Fest, you think of Ryan Moore. In fact, he ranks out number 1 in the field from proximity 125 to 150 yards, gaining on the field over the past 36. So I'm going to put Moore and Herman on my short list. Maybe Howell is the play, since I guarantee. But is Howell like Zach Johnson, where people just play him regardless?
Yeah, I think Howell will get some love this week. Yeah, the thing with Howell is he's not going to win. So I just feel like there's not as much upside with Howell as there is. Like I almost would rather play Ryan Moore after I've just, we talked about how badly I don't want to play him than Howell, because I feel like there's just a better chance that Moore actually wins than Howell. Howell's a fine cash game play, I think, in my opinion this week, but I wouldn't use him for GPPs. I'd rather just go up to Streelman, or I'd rather play Sanjay M, I think, even. So.
Okay, let's talk about the 8K guys. So I actually have players I like in this range. You got Tway, Stanley, Colley, Palmer, Nasty Nate, Damon, Brown, Laird, Party Marty, Jason Duffner, Nick Watney. I've been convinced I can't let Jason Duffner hurt me anymore, but we'll see how I end up going with that as the week goes along. I'll probably end up playing him. But I really like Joel Damon. He's my pick to win. I'm using him as my one and done. He's sort of the guy that, when we think about breakthrough wins, that's not who we're talking about anymore. And he's been relatively inconsistent lately as well. He's only gained on approach in 3 of his past 6 events. However, when he does gain on approach, he's an average of 5 strokes gained on the field. So if he shows up to play, and I believe he was, T2 at this tournament last year? So that's always a gay. He was T2 last year. So, yeah, I think that he can get the putter rolling. That's been pretty good recently. I think he does just enough well that if this turns into a birdie fest, he can win. I also like Party Marty Laird. I really do. He's frankly been a lot better than I gave him credit for, and gained 6.5 strokes on approach last week. 1 off the tee, 1.5 around the greens, lost 5 on the greens. Now, he's lost a lot the last 2 events, 4.9 and 3.3 at the Rocket Mortgage and the 3M. But this is a guy who's historically gaining like 0.2, 0.3 strokes on the field on the greens per round, and he is an immensely good par 3 player. And if you go back and look at the previous winners, par 3's actually been the separator, because this course is super easy. You're going to have to make your birdies on the par 4s, even if you just want to be in it. But the separator comes from birdieing all the par 5s and then making some hay, being like -4, -5 on the weekend par 3s, and Martin Laird can do that.
I like Martin Laird. I actually prefer Laird over Damon, although I get the argument for Damon, and I probably have him second, although I like Scott Brown too. So, but just going back to Laird, I mean, he's putted well recently, and you mentioned his approach last week. I mean, it seemed like he was trying to figure that out a little bit, but he was still making cuts even before he was striking the ball better. So the fact he started to do that a little bit last week or in his last start, I think that's a good sign. He's performed really well in similar type events. He's performed really well at TPC Summerlin, the Shriners, like another birdie fest. So Laird can get it done in an event like this. He's kind of proven it over his career. He's been a pretty strong par 5 scorer too over his career. I like it. I do like Martin Laird at 82. I like Brown and Damon. I might lean Damon over Brown just because he's obviously a better player, I think, overall than Brown. Brown's got a really strong course history. Always seems to end up in the top 25. But maybe Damon for GPP, Scott Brown for cash games or something like that. But yeah, I would rank Laird above both those guys, though. I do really like him in this range. Probably my favorite play as well. This range. Yeah,
I would go Damon. I would go Damon number 1. I would go Kyle Stanley number 2. Then Martin Laird. I actually do really like Kyle Stanley.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Kyle Stanley.
He's the best player in the field. You might as well use him.
Yeah, he's the best player in the field. He's 8,800 too, right? He's been playing better. His putter has actually been better too. That's part of the reason why he's playing better. So that's exactly what you want to see this week. We forgot about Kyle Stanley, but I'd rank him probably right there with Martin Laird, and then Damon and Brown. I both have interest in. Like I said, it's just kind of night and day over the 9K range, because these guys are not only cheaper, but I just don't feel like you're getting a real downgrade. But you're not getting a downgrade by using Kyle Stanley or Martin Laird compared to the other names, in my opinion, at least in the 9K range. So definitely like all 4 of these players I mentioned, Laird and Stanley for sure. I think Damon and Brown have some upside, at least for what they're worth in price.
Strangely, Ryan Palmer rates out really well for me, but I just can't see myself pulling the trigger on that.
Yeah, Ryan Palmer's either going to come in here and just start, lacing flags and sinking a couple putts, and he'll get in contention, or he's going to still hit the approach as well and miss all his putts and miss the cut. So it's going to be a catch-22, pure GPP play. But I could see him, especially at low ownership, he's someone to think about at least, I guess, if this range gets too chalky, or you just, you have too much Kyle Stanley already and you want to differentiate with a couple lineups. I think Ryan Palmer is the good swerve there. I want to make a case for Bud Cauley, but he's just been so inconsistent. And I think if I had to go between those two with like a low ownership GPP play, I'd probably go Palmer.
I can see myself going with Duffner over Palmer just because I'm like pot committed to Jason Duffner at this point, and he's cheaper, so that always goes a long way. 7K range. I mentioned this before. Like I don't see a huge separation between these guys and the guys in the $9,000 level. So let me hit you with a few guys that I like from here. I like Peter Malnati. Shorter course. That's where I want to play Malnati. He actually surprised me last week with how good he was. Vaughn Taylor at 77. Ryder and Merritt at 75. Hank Lebioda at $7,100. Those would be my 5 guys as of right now. I might add more.
Okay, I'm definitely with you on Vaughn Taylor. Should set up well. Obviously, Malnati's been playing well for a bit. His price $7,900. He'll probably be pretty popular. I think for GPPs, I'd rather just play JT Poston under him. He's a really strong putter. Had a really good week in Detroit. Obviously, didn't have a great Sunday, but I think that'll motivate. He's coming off a week of rest, so if Malnati's getting up there in ownership, I think you could realistically get Poston perhaps like less than half owned a Malnati. And I think I'd be all over that for GPPs. Malnati's a fine cash game play, though, at $7,900. Nothing wrong with that. Definitely, like I said, I like Vaughn Taylor. Little worried Tringali might be getting a little bit gassed. He's been playing a lot. Obviously, the strokes gained tee to green and everything is there. But I'd be okay leaving him off my list this week. Danny Lee and Dylan Fratelli are really interesting to me. Although they're both putting terribly, but they're both like gaining a lot of strokes on approaches over the last 2 starts, especially Danny Lee. Danny Lee's putted well on Bentgrass over his career. Obviously, he's won the Greenbrier, which is kind of a good corollary for this event because it's got easier course, Bentgrass greens. Doesn't have as many par 5s, but it's kind of similar in a lot of ways. He's been killing it with his irons. Obviously missed the cut last week, but again, just had one really poor putting round. Danny Lee's got a top 5 in the past of this event. I'd be okay with him. Again, not a cash game play because we don't know which Danny Lee's going to show up, but he could easily top 20, top 10 here at 7,600. Fratelli, similar story. Just a terrible putter, but he was on pace with Morikawa in his approaches and his ball striking for the first 3 rounds last week. He was right up there, first or second. Fell apart on Sunday, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw some follow through from Fratelli this week too.
So the other 2 guys, I'll be on Lee and Fratelli at minimal shares. I like Harold Varner III. I just completely forgot about him. The only other one, like Brian Stewart, rates out really well, and so does Sean Stephanie, coming off a T15 last week. He's gained on approach in 8 straight tournaments.
Spiderwebs, Sean Stefani. Yeah, Stephanie's played well. He's gone through a nice little stretch, and he's actually played well at this event before too, so he's got some experience. I don't mind that. I think it's actually a pretty good price for Stephanie in this field. So, I'm over that. Stewart was definitely a guy. He's a player who can hit up putts. I know you're going to hate me for this, Pat, but I'm going to make a case for Russell Henley again.
Listen, if you want to make a case for Russell Henley, I don't know if I can use Andrew Landry again after he just destroyed so many good teams. And I watched him do it, too. I was there watching him make the bogey on number 8 on Friday, which was his 17th hole, and he realized it was just a terrible tee shot. He couldn't get it up and down. And then he hooks it into the native area on 18. It's like, oh, good God, man. Figure this out. He had to get up and down from 100 yards to make the cut. He could not do that. Sunk some very, very good lineups. But I was going to say Luke Donald actually rates out really well for me.
I forgot Luke Donald was in this field, but I actually was going to take a look at him. Obviously he hasn't been doing anything great, but he's definitely a player who can get around a technical track like John Deere. But just back to Henley, I'm kind of committed to Henley, just like you are with Duffner. I'm waiting for this turnaround. But it's a player who's averaged between 20th and 40th in strokes gained putting over his career. He's 150th in strokes gained putting right now. He gained over a stroke on approaches both rounds last week. I believe he his ball striking is fine. Basically, it's perfectly fine. It's actually strong. He just cannot putt right now. And for such a guy who's been such a strong putter, that's going to turn at some point. He was actually 2 over going into the back 9 on Friday. And he made 3 birdies and an eagle, and he had the chance to make the cut on 18. I would not be shocked if you saw some momentum from that going into this week. So definitely a player who can light up an easy course like this. Obviously, he's missed 4 cuts in a row. He's dealing with some putting issues, but like I said, the rest of his game doesn't seem to be having an issue. He's just having a problem putting it all together. In a field like this, a player Russell Henley's category, guy who's won 3 times on tour, I'm perfectly fine taking advantage of that. And I already bet him at like 125 to 1. So yeah.
Are
back on him.
Are you in on the ball striking prowess of one Joey Garber or Seb Straka?
Joey Garber's been playing some good golf. I'd probably lean Garber over Straka, although both these guys feel like they've been playing a lot and they might be just due for a letdown, and neither of them are good putters. So I'd slightly lean Garber over Seb Straka, but I think both of them are at least in the conversation this week because they both been playing good golf. So.
All right, 6K guys. Who do I have here? I have Adam Svensson, Go Canada, 6,700. Is there a chance he'll make 1 8-foot putt this week?
Maybe, probably not, to be honest. I'm gonna play the guy down here who's actually a good putter, and Curtis Luck.
Can he keep doing this? Like the guy gains like 7 strokes a week on the greens, and he doesn't seem to do anything else well.
He did it in the Web.com tour last year too, though. This is what he does. Like, he's such a good putter. And I mean, he actually had a couple good ball striking rounds at the start of the tournament last week. You saw he opened 68-65. So, I mean, the guy was a former #1 amateur player in the world, right? I mean, just like those 4 guys at the top. I mean, so this is a player who was once, touted as the best amateur player in the world. I know he's not as good as those players. He's clearly not the ball striker. He doesn't have the off the tee game, but he's certainly capable of putting it together for a few rounds and pulling like a semi Michael Kim maybe, because his putting is otherworldly. So I don't mind taking a shot with Curtis Luck this week. Obviously Svensson is a much better ball striker, but I think in this event, like Curtis Luck he's okay from like the 125 to 150 range too. So wedges, putter, I would not be shocked if he got hot and went on a little run this week.
So the only other guys that like rate out well across the board, at least in the stats that I'm targeting this week from the $6,000 range, I'm looking at like Josh Teeter at $6,700. I got some, who else is down here? DJ Trahan at $6,500. Lingmerth, Boo Weekly. I'm not playing Boo Weekly anymore. I can't do that to myself. But like, it's rough treading down here. Billy Hurley III is like lights out from the key proximity ranges.
Has Billy Hurley III been playing lately, or when's the last time he played?
I feel like he played a few weeks ago. Yeah, he missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Made the cut at the U.S. Open.
I thought he was out. Okay. Oh, yeah, he's just been missing cuts. Oh, yeah, I did make the cut at the U.S. Open. No interest, Pat. Sorry. Oh, Austin Connolly's in this field.
Oh, no. We need more Canadians we can get behind, and Canadian Sports Center can lead with Austin Connolly. Missed cut.
Yeah, he's been missing cuts on the Euro Tour, so that's not good. George McNeil has played well at this course.
How old is George McNeil at this point?
I think he's like 49.
George McNeil, yeah. Golfer, because that's just not going to come up. Let's see. Oh, he's on the Corn Ferry Tour. He's only 43? Are you kidding me?
What? Oh, I thought he was way older than that.
He has the haircut of a man who is 70 years old. He still has his hair, just very poorly styled.
Oh, what about Arjun Awal?
No, come on, man. Like, I know he got it going last week, but that can't be real.
No, you don't want to ride the Atwell train. I don't mind that, actually. His approaches were pretty good last week.
Tom Lovelady, maybe? The guy like generally has great ball striking on super easy courses, but he's been an atrocity so far this year.
Yeah, I actually do not mind Atwell down here. Looking at if there's any other names like I'd actually even consider down here. Asswagon's playing well. He flirted with a win on the Corn Ferry Tour. He gained 5.5 strokes on approach last week, lost 5 putting, came 53rd. I don't hate. Yeah, he's
a historically good par 3 performer as well.
He's another player who will hit it to 5 feet and then miss half his 5-footers. But yeah, he could definitely get it going on a little course like this.
I'd rather play him than Atwell.
I don't mind either of those guys. Like, if you're going down here for real, I mean, I know we're joking around a little bit, but if you are going to construct a couple lineups with like some scrubs down here, I think Atwell and Van Aswagen are decent targets. Andres Albison has made a couple cuts, but no, screw that. Play Aswagen. I don't mind that call. No, I mean, you're right. He's been playing consistently on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Are we getting in the rhythm of saying the Corn Ferry Tour now?
I've been saying KF Tour as much as possible because it's easier.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's less offensive.
I wish I had more for people, but I don't.
I mean, I got Robert Streb at 6,900.
Yeah, that sounds
he's
like
been
fun.
gaining strokes pretty much every category. Like nothing great, but he's been playing better. He's like I said, consistent across the board. He's putted well on bent grass a few times over his career. Almost won the Greenbrier. Another player with some correlations. So
Yeah.
I don't mind that play at 6,900.
Yeah, the year that he won the Greenbrier, or he lost in the playoff of the Greenbrier. Remember he broke his putter that year? He had to putt with his wedge in the play. That was the year Danny Lee won. It was four.
And he putted better with his wedge.
It was Danny Lee, Streb, Hearn, and someone else in the four-man playoff.
And Kisner.
Kisner? How does Kisner not win that?
Yeah, I know. I remember because I was on Danny Lee, and I thought I had no chance once the playoffs started. But
I think I was on Hearn that week.
Okay. So he probably was hedged because it came down to Lee and Hearn.
Did it come
Kisner and Streb got dusted out.
Maybe.
Streb went back to his putter, and then he missed his putt because he should have kept with the wedge.
Yeah, past 12 rounds. If I really shorten the sample here, if we just look for who's hot right now, Streb's actually 6th in the model.
Yeah, no, he's played well. Like I said, I know he missed the cut in Detroit, but it wasn't like a bad missed cut. He gained strokes. He still was gaining strokes on his ball striking, and he just basically missed it by one stroke there. So he's played well over like 4 weeks now.
Wes Roach also rates out all right.
Wes Roach is
Yeah, this is the field that we're dealing with here. I think from down here, it's like Svensson and Lebioda would be like my two guys below $7,100 and below. I might just if I play
Stenson.
No, did I say Stenson?
Henrik Stenson?
No, not Henrik Stenson. Svensson.
Oh, Svensson, yeah.
You know what? I'll play Stenson at $6,500 in this field. I won't worry about it.
What is Henrik Stenson doing? He's even playing the Scottish Open?
Yeah, he's like 18-1 to win the Scottish.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Do you have any thoughts on the Scottish Open?
I looked at the field a little bit. I mean, I think just betting Martin Keimer and assuming he's just going to like continue this hot streak and eventually get into the Open isn't a bad play. But other than that, I mean, you never know how the U.S. players are going to do. Like some of them are just there for a warm up, and then there'll be other years where like Ricky wins it or something. So it's a little bit of a hard event. It's an exciting event, but it's a little bit of a hard one to handicap. If you're looking back a little bit, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the odds right up in front of me, but there's a couple players that were interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I bet Justin Thomas. He was 20-1. This is a new course too, so it makes it even tougher.
Yeah, they've been changing the course. I guess that's better for the American players in a way because they're not. Julian Surrey is maybe kind of interesting.
Yeah, Surrey's down to like 80-1. I don't hate that. I just like Surrey though. That's why.
Yeah.
I have no particular insight to whether or not he's going to win. I just like him.
I mean, I like betting Lucas Beauregard every time he's 100-1 or bigger on the European Tour because you never know when he's going to get it going. So I think that was the other name at longer odds.
That seems strange.
Other than that,
that seems strange that he's at 100-1.
Yeah.
Wonder why he's down there. Like, has he just been disastrous since making the cut at
He's
the
just
Masters?
missed a few cuts in a row, but like he played well at the PGA, and then I think he's just missed like 3 cuts. But he hasn't been.
He's the same odds as CT Pan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys over there playing. Do you have any like initial thoughts on the British Open?
I mean, I was tweeting out a little bit yesterday when Bryson lost. I mean, traditionally the winners of the Open have guys who've come in hot. I mean, Molinari win second, and then Stenson won the week before he won. Spieth won the Travelers and then took a week off and then won. So I'm pretty big on Bryson right now. I mean, I know a little bit about that course, and I don't think it's going to quite play as technical as some of these other like crazy, like Carnoustie maybe. I think it's going to be more up Bryson's alley personally. I just have that feeling. And I mean, just the way he was putting it all together, his putting, is around the green game looks sharp. He just needs to sharpen up the ball striking a touch. And I think he's going to be a really solid play for that. So I think 40-1, like I started adding him already. Definitely got to look at Rahm too. I mean, like I would not be shocked if Rahm won, just because I've always said that I think this is going to be his best major over his career because, you know, like the guy or not, I just feel like he's more comfortable in Europe, in the European crowds. Something about it just doesn't throw him off as much. And it's kind of held true. He's dominated the European Tour when he's played consistently there. So I think you just look at both those guys. I know especially Rahm's probably going to be chalky, but yeah, I think he's going to be a hard fade. So
yeah, we don't have the pricing out yet, but he's not the same odds as Dustin Johnson is to win.
Yeah, his odds dropped to like 15-1.
Yeah, he's
which
four,
sucks.
he's
It sucks
14,
if you want to bet him.
but like
Like
Rahm's 14-1, Dustin Johnson is 14-1. I think I'd rather just play Dustin. He might even drop. Missing the cut in Detroit may have been like the best thing that ever happened to Dustin Johnson's odds.
no, for sure. I mean, it just depends where you are. Are you at the point? Like I'm kind of at the point where I don't know. Like for me to bet Dustin Johnson at a major these days, I feel like I need 20-1 just because I'm sick of him getting close. Not that I've really ever bet him at 8-1 or anything like that, but I still feel like, he's just been so bad at closing the door or just getting in contention and falling out with his putter that I just don't really want to bet Dustin Johnson at short odds anymore. And I know 14-1 is actually pretty good for him, but I don't know. Open's been his worst event traditionally. Maybe this is where it happens and it just shocks everyone. But I think I'd still prefer Rahm even if they're the same price.
Yeah, I'm just looking like Tiger 16-1. Maybe? No? I can't figure out what to do with Tiger. So. He just doesn't play. It's tough to back him.
He seems a little bit burned out, like from that win. Like he even admitted it after the U.S. Open. He's just like, I'm not playing till the Open. Like you won't see me. So take that for what it will. Maybe he's just in his cave, like getting strong again or something. But like I said, traditionally the last like 4 or 5 winners of the Open, they've played a couple events in July. They've won or like finished second, and then they've just come in and blitzed the Open. And I'd be looking at players like that. Like maybe Cantlay is a good candidate for that. I don't know. I really like Bryson though at 40-1, man. Like I really like that price for him. I think everything's clicking for him, and I think you'll see some continuation. So
yeah, I've only made one bet so far, and all I did was I bet Justin Thomas at 40-1. It seems too deep.
That's fine because it's such good odds for a guy who's hitting it clearly as well as he's ever hit it in his career. I mean, his strokes gained tee to green is off the charts. He's just got to figure out how to putt again. So I might end up adding that too eventually. It's 40-1 for Justin Thomas in major is ridiculous. So.
Yeah, the guys coming in with the best form right now in the field. I mean, there's one guy here is very interesting. I wasn't even really giving him much consideration, but he's won an Open, so I probably should. I'm on fantasynational.com right now, and it's sort of by like the last 6 events, most strokes gained total. Hideki, right. Cantlay, Bryson, Rory, Adam Scott. Adam Scott?
Yeah, Adam Scott's interesting. Really good Open player too over his career. Yeah. Obviously, he blew the Open that one time at St. George's or whatever when he bogeyed the last 4 holes. But that's got to be interesting. Who was the other player you're talking about?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking about. He didn't win the Open. He blew it to Ernie Els.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, around if you can get him at around the same price as Bryson or JT there, around 40-1. I mean, maybe just bet those 3. You got JT coming in with good ball striking and just needs to get his putter going. You got Bryson coming in hot, and then you got Scott coming in who always takes a big rest, it seems, before majors and doesn't bother him at all. So, and actually Hideki too. I mean, if maybe this course will set up well for him. I mean, he's at that age now where he's played the Open a ton of times. It's not like he's a bad Open player or anything like that. You can take all 4 at 40-1, basically.
Yeah, the back.
Pretty good card. I mean, if you can get those 4 guys at 40-1, Pat, like. Yeah, I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Like I'm even looking at the back end of this top 10 in terms of recent form. Reed, Willett, Webb, and Leishman. That's interesting. Willett.
Leishman's always good for the Open. Willett is too, actually. 80-1.
Who has the worst form coming in? Sung Kang and Luke List. Ooh, and Phil. And Beauregard and Siwoo Kim. All my favorites.
Actually, the one long shot I would actually consider. Actually, there's 2. One's Wiesberger for sure. He finished second last week, 150-1 out there still. Just been getting his game back going. Good links player, good European player. And then Thorbjorn Olsen, 125-1. He started to show some form last week. Definitely a guy who can get it going on links. I like Wiesberger a lot though at that price. He's a good player, Pat.
Well, I know he's a good player. I'm just shocked that like he's made a rebound and all of it. Like he went away for 18 months and now all of a sudden he's back again. It reminds me of like I know he didn't hit the peak like Stenson did when Stenson won the Players, but like remember when Stenson fell off the face of the earth for like 4 years and then he came back and he was Stenson again?
Yeah.
It feels like the same thing has happened with Bernd Wiesberger at this point, but is there a chance that like we're just overlooking Tommy? Like everyone's just over Tommy Fleetwood. Now is the time that he can come through?
I mean, it could be. It's kind of what he's done traditionally, but I don't know. You either, when you're headed into a major, you either look at the form and you hit up those guys who are red hot, or you take some bigger odds on players who maybe just, people are overlooking. My take on Tommy is you're getting the worst odds on him at any major right now. Like if he was coming into the US Open, or maybe not the US Open, if he was coming into like the PGA in the form he's in, he'd probably be in the 40 to, maybe not 50, but like 30 to 40 range. You're not really getting good odds on Tommy Fleetwood at 28-1 for the Open because it's the Open and they just price him a little bit lower, in my opinion. Like, should Tommy Fleetwood be lower odds than Bryson and Justin Thomas and Adam Scott? I don't think so. So I just can't bet him on that premise right now. If he was at 40-1, I'd say, yeah, that'd be a little bit more interesting. But unless he floats, which he could like the week of, then I'm not interested in that.
It's been a full year since he missed a cut.
Since Fleetwood missed a cut?
Since Fleetwood, yeah. He hasn't missed a cut since l'Open de France before last year's Open.
It's impressive.
Was there an Open de France this year? Did I just miss that?
I think they moved it.
Oh.
Don't quote me on that, but I think they moved it to the schedule. They moved some European Tour events like later in the year, like September.
Yeah. Well, that makes actually a lot more sense now. Because they just had the Ryder Cup there. You think they would go back to the course that at least the Euros really seemed to like. The Americans hated its guts.
No, that's an awesome course. That's a really good event. That's one of the better events to watch on the Euro Tour. I'm pretty sure. I really doubt they canceled it or anything, but I'd have to look. I'm pretty sure they shifted it to September because the BMW PGA Championship, the one held in England, like their big flagship event, has been moved too. So they adjusted a bunch of things on the schedule. I think all those events go off later in the year now.
All right. Geoff Ulrich, anything final to add?
No, not really. Just try and get through this week and don't lose too much money before you get to the Open. That's my advice. But you can check out my article. It's up this week. Had a good week with the PGA cheat sheet last week on the DK Playbook. Had Bryson and Wyndham Clark highlighted, so you can go up there and look who I wrote up this week. Should be up there now. But yeah, DraftKings Playbook and DK Live app.
All right. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter, Facebook, and the Twitter machine. You can find my DK cheat sheet up on dkplaybook.com as well. And we both had Bryson highlighted last week, but I also had Morikawa highlighted. Unfortunately, I couldn't put together a good 6 of 16 because I'm terrible at this. Betting cheat sheet will be out on Wednesday on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme. Same place you can find the Pat Mayo Experience John Deere Classic DraftKings Open, $15 to play, 3 max entry. Become a member at fantasynational.com. And if you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, smash the like button to the episode. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section. Tell me your favorite player above $9,000 and your favorite player below $7,000. See if we can jam them together. See what happens. Anyway, I'll be back Friday with golf, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the following Friday, full British Open coverage. The final major of the year. I'll have a ton of giveaways, so tune in, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck. The John Deere Classic. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!